Colonel Wyatt hits the screen, got stories bold and keen. Old soldier, sharp and mean, tells truths they've never seen. Rugby lover with a roar, Africa flowing in his core. YouTube rants they can't ignore, his passion makes his heart soar. Colonel Wyatt, hear his call, shining light through it all. Trolls may rise, but he'll stand tall. Subscribe now, don't miss the brawl. Military mind, keen and wise, truths come out, no disguise. South African skies, in his eyes, hear his voice, no surprise. Retired soldier with the fight, in the dark he brings the light. Angry rants, truths ignite, join the cause, join the ride. Colonel Wyatt, hear his call, shining light through it all. Trolls may rise, but he'll stand tall. Subscribe now, don't miss the brawl. Enemies knocked on his door, trolls attack, but he's more with each click. Watch him soar on the truth waves, he explodes. Colonel Wyatt, hear his call, shining light through it all. Trolls may rise, but he'll stand tall. Subscribe now, don't miss the brawl. Right now, don't miss the brawl.
Take a picture.
Stupid people should wear signs, neon bright, so we can find a way to dodge their tangled mess, avoid their chaos more, say less. Wear a sign, wear a sign. Save me from your twisted line. Wear a sign, wear a sign. Nada, nada, don't waste your time. Politicians dance and spin, blatant lies with a practiced grin. Blame the moon, blame the stars, blame the traffic or faulty cars. You think they're 6, not 35, playing games to stay alive. Wear a sign, wear a sign. Save me from your twisted line. Wear a sign, wear a sign. Nada, nada, don't waste your time. Celebrities with tails so tall, lost
Good evening, folks. Welcome back. Wednesday, the 8th of October, 2025. The years is zipping on by. How's it going? Welcome back. Those in Europe, Africa, and points further east, good morning to you. The rest of us, good evening to you. Welcome back. How's it going? Let me say hello to folks in the chat here, but the breaking news, of course, is Donald Trump has once again negotiated a peace settlement to end a conflict. The man who's ended more wars than any leader in history has done it again. The man they love to hate has once again achieved peace. At least a peace agreement. Of course, Hamas is a terrorist organization. We can trust them about as far as we can pronounce their name, which isn't very far. Nonetheless, Trump has negotiated another peace agreement. Israel and the terror state of Hamas have agreed to a peace agreement, returning all living hostages. I don't know about the deceased ones. So there you have it, folks. Let's go ahead and say hello to folks in the chat, and then we'll get on to the news. Bob, what are you doing? Bob, are you on my microphone? Look at that. Bugger off Bob is hanging out in the microphone. I don't know what he's up to. Anyway, so good evening to Madeline Swart, Gina Mullman, welcome to you. Mandy van Rooyen, Husky7, Ans is an OG. He's been here a long time. Mandy van Rooyen, Naomi, good evening to you. And then we've got Karen Grum. Charles Van Olsen, the voice of reason. Holden Caulfield, a famous member of a novel. Elmarie Mayer, Arnold Neveling, CB, OG, Mandy van Rooyen. Amanda Lowe, welcome to you. AJ Quinn, Mohammed Lahir, Mohammed, my apologies, welcome back. Xavier Grayling is back, one of the cool names out there. Interesting to say, Xavier Grayling. Let me check the quality of the sound. Xavier Grayling. That sounds pretty good, man. That's been really good. By the way, I changed the TPM settings in my BIOS, and I still can't install Windows 11. I think I'm just going to leave it as it is. It's telling me I have to change another setting, and geez, I'll just stick with Windows 11 with what I've got. So anyway. They were giving it to me for free forever, and now I try to download it. It doesn't give me a free option, so screw Microsoft. Who else we got here? And I think I've Julie. I missed Julie there. Alex 44066, somewhere in Mansfield or somewhere like that. Mariki Bezidna, welcome to you. And Naomi. Dogzilla's here. Karen Lang and Shawnee in from Minnesota. Yeah, she loves the bunny, man. No, I'm telling you, no, they were up in, sure, they're in Brainerd. Yeah, no, she was sleeping with a little feller. No, they had lutefisk, and you could smell it coming out of the room for sure. It was quite nasty, I'm telling you. Have you ever been to Minnesota? Yeah, no, the people talk kind of funny up there. You think you're talking to some Norsemen out there from Norwegen. But no, they love that lutefisk in Minnesota. Yeah, I'm telling you for sure, man. It's really true. I was there. You could smell that stuff miles away. It's disgusting. I'm telling you. Lutefisk. Not for me. Not for you. Just for those strange Norwegians in Minnesota. Yeah. I think they do it at North Dakota too. Yeah. It's right next door to it. That's what I'm saying. I hear some of them have even invaded Wisconsin and brought their smelly lutefisk with them. You know? Philip Swanico, welcome you. Carlos Freda, welcome you. I am the law. Dread? I can't break the law. I am the law. Chicken pie. Oh, okay. Utopi says, can help you troubleshoot, get Windows 11 installed. Utopi, do I really want to install it is the question at this point. Reina Faster, welcome to you. Blood Cup. And I think I've caught up with everybody. Reactions Unleashed. I miss you. And there's Gabriel in von der Schweiz. Ja, und, na, wie geht's der alte Knabe in der Schweiz? Ja, jo. Hey, was ist denn los in der Schweiz? Ja, Grüezi aus der Schweiz. Ja, kennst du eigentlich den uralte Mann, der heißt Ötzi? Ja, ziemlich in Südtirol findet man Ötzi. Yeah, pretty cool story there, finding the medieval man's body melting in a glacier away by hikers back in the day. The Italians claimed it. The Austrians claimed it, but it was really Austrian. They stole that land from the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and it's primarily German. Been seeing a lot of YouTube videos about Windows 10. It's still operating and has free support. Yeah, well, I mean, I've got 11 on my laptop. Why mess with it? Xavier says, great upgrade. Somehow it's increased laptop battery life. Well, that's interesting. Okay, but I'm not on a laptop. It's a gaming PC. Bob, what are you doing on the microphone? You're in the way, dude. You're going to be sanctioned here. If we can't sanction the ANC, we can sanction Bob. All right, Bob's coming down. Let me get out of the way. Sit over there. Sit over there. Keep the bell busy. Okay. Well, all right, guys. So let's get to the major news item here, even though this is not the news program. And that is, of course, that Donald Trump has once again done it. He's done the unthinkable. He's negotiated a peace agreement. A peace agreement. Yeah, they're all pissing on each other's legs. No, he's negotiated a peace agreement once again. The Trumpster has done it again. But we'll see how far this one goes, and if it's successful, if it carries on, and if the terror state of Hamas continues to abide by it. Kathy Price, welcome to you. Israel and Hamas reach a deal on hostage and prisoner exchange. President Trump said Israel would pull back troops in the first phase, raising hopes that the 2-year war of Gaza may be nearer to an end. After months of deadlock, Israel and Hamas have reached an agreement for the release of Israeli hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners, a long way to break through that could point toward the end of a 2-year war in Gaza. President Trump, who helped broker the deal, said on social media tonight that both sides had agreed in the first phase of his plan, including that Israel would pull back troops to an agreed-upon line. The specifics of the hostage for prisoner exchange and the line of Israeli withdrawal were unclear. Israel, in its initial statements, did not mention a troop pullback. Mr. Trump's announcement came shortly before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 hours ago. 2 a.m. in Israel. Qatar, one of the countries helping negotiations, and Hamas indicated in statements that the agreement would allow for the entry of aid into Gaza. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, the United States of America, and we thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt, Turkey, who worked with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen, Mr. Trump said on Truth Social. In late September, Trump unveiled his own sweeping 20-point plan to end the war and free the remaining hostages. Under that proposal, the hostages would be exchanged for 250 Palestinian prisoners serving life sentences and 1,700 Gazans jailed by Israel during the war. All of our hostages will be brought home. So, yeah, well, they're letting go more terrorists. That's kind of a scary thing. Ones with a life sentence for their terror actions. And they'll likely resort to more terror once they're free to resume their bloodthirsty careers back in Gaza. Trump says Israel and Hamas have reached a deal on the first phase. This is being reported all over the world right now at this hour, folks. The BBC. Trump's first phase of Gaza peace deal agreed, paving way for hostage and prisoner release. There's a sense of happiness in Gaza, says the BBC correspondent. Hamas confirmed the deal. Netanyahu calls the agreement a great day for Israel. It will convene his government on Thursday to approve the agreement. Ceasefire goes into effect immediately after approval by the Israeli government around 2 p.m. Jerusalem time. 12 British Standard Time, so approximately 7 a.m. in the morning. Starmer calls for immediate lifting of restrictions of aid into Gaza. Okay. Moment of profound relief. All the Gaza Strip is happy. Well, I'm not happy. The terrorists have not been eliminated, and they will strike again. CNN says that Trump and says Israel and Hamas have signed off on the first phase of the deal. Still to be decided. They did mention thorny topics that will need to be resolved, including Hamas's disarmament and the future governance of the enclave. Well, that is the key thing, Hamas being disarmed. And then Israel or international observers having the ability to monitor the effort to use rockets to murder civilians in Israel and to dig tunnels. That must be observed and prevented from happening. And the Washington Compost also reporting on this story. Trump announced a ceasefire deal to begin ending the war in Gaza. Can we talk about the Nobel Peace Prize now? The Congo? Georgia, Azerbaijan? This? North Korea? One peace deal, one agreement, one ending the Abraham Peace Accords. Unbelievable. Peace in our time is what President Trump is. Yep. Republicans could get 19 more seats if the unconstitutional, racist previous Supreme Court decision allowing for intentional gerrymandering to create fictitious electoral districts to ensure that black people are overrepresented rather than being represented in actual percentage of the population. Well, Republicans could gain a lot of seats. This is before the Supreme Court. Many experts are forecasting an end to a key provision of the election law, enabling Republicans to shore up their advantage in the House to more accurately represent the country. Democratic voting rights groups are preparing for a nightmare scenario if the Supreme Court guts a key part of the landmark civil rights era legislation, the Voting Rights Act. Ahead of the court's October 15th rehearing of Louisiana versus Callis, a case that has major implications for the Voting Rights Act, two voting rights groups are sounding the alarm, warning that eliminating Section 2, a provision that prohibits racial gerrymandering when it dilutes minority voting power. That is a lie. It is a provision that ensures electoral gerrymandering to ensure black majority districts on the stupid assumption that the black candidate win because black people are there. It is a racist provision in the law. Only racist would come up with such stupid things. You create an electoral district where most of the voters are black so that black people are elected, intentionally thereby disenfranchising the white people, the Asians, the Native Americans there. and also assuming that black people are stupid and they'll vote for somebody simply because they're black, that's racist. That's immoral. That's unconstitutional, and it's been going on since the 1960s. It needs to be rolled back. Rolled back. White people vote for black people. How do you think Barack dumbass Hussein Obama ever became president? Because 40 million dumbass white people voted for him. 45 million the first time. That's how that moron became president. Because white people elected him. He didn't have to come from a black district to be elected. He got elected as a senator from Illinois by mostly white people. This is racist and ensures an overrepresentation in Congress, particularly in the Demon Rat Party, which has 1/3 of its representatives who are black, yet only 11% of the population is black. The calculation made by a new report from Fair Fight Action and Black Voters Matter Fund, shared exclusively with Politico, would all but guarantee Republican control of Congress. While a ruling in time next year's midterms is unlikely, the organizations behind the report said it's not out of the question. Taken together, the groups identified 27 total seats Republicans could redistrict in their favor ahead of the midterms. This is just fantasy. They're making crap up. Without Section 2, up to 30% of the Congressional Black Caucus and 11% of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus will be drawn out of their seats. Yes, because they're wildly overrepresented in Congress. It's immoral. Republicans have long sought to dismantle this racist portion of the Voting Rights Act, which generally prohibits race discrimination in voting laws and practices. No, it ensures race discrimination by ensuring majority black districts to the detriment of all other groups in the country. We don't gerrymander to have all Native American districts. We could do that in New Mexico, Arizona, South Dakota, where Native Americans have large populations, but we don't do that. We don't do that. This is racist, and it's time for it to roll back. Yeah. Anyway, so I just love the way they lie about this stuff. A bipartisan measure to unlawfully limit the powers of the president, corrupting, perverting, and ignoring law that Congress passed in the 1970s, the War Powers Act. Congress seeking to usurp the executive's authority by violating the War Powers Act. They tried to stop Trump. Bipartisan idiots seek to restrict Trump's war powers, fails in the Senate. Demon rats call the Trump administration's lethal strikes on alleged Venezuelan drug traffickers unconstitutional, but were unable to persuade Republicans to vote for a restraining measure because it violates the War Powers Act. In the past 2 months, U.S. military struck at least 4 boats in the Caribbean, killing 21 people. Administration has claimed it's targeting narco-terrorists from notorious drug gangs. Democrats want to protect the narco-terrorists. Democratic lawmakers push back, arguing that military officials in multiple classified briefings have not definitively identified the victims or explained why the military is using deadly force rather than the long-standing protocol of interdicting vessels at sea. What we're doing is very simple, straightforward resolution that just says Congress be Congress. One of the senators behind this, military actions should stop unless authorized. They are authorized under the president for up to 60 days. So shut your cake hole, Tim Kaine. You're an idiot. The senator from Virginia, you're an idiot. You don't know the Constitution. You don't know the law. Congress already usurped executive authority from the president by passing the War Powers Act, and now you're trying to circumvent that. Shut your cake hole, go back to Virginia, and promote your bizarre boys and girls restroom ideology. Trump administration officials seriously discussing invoking the Insurrection Act, and I think they should start in the neighborhood where Dogzilla lives. Round up all the reprobates and just lock them up. Put them in zip ties and lock them away. Use rendition to send them to a third country like Swaziland. Qatar. A decision isn't expected to be imminent, but one source said, but debate within the administration has shifted recently to more deeply exploring how and when the act might be invoked. And apparently they're going to invoke it in Seattle, where Dogzilla lives, in his neighborhood. Yes, White House officials have increasingly serious discussions in recent days about President Trump invoking the Insurrection Act, a rarely used 19th century law that gives the president power to deploy active duty troops inside the United States for law enforcement purposes. Indeed it does. Indeed it does. Are you sleepless in Seattle? They're coming for you. Dolly Parton reassures her fans she's alive and she's okay. She thanks everyone for their prayers in a brilliant 2-minute video, which I watched earlier today. I'm not dying. The news of her expiration has been greatly exaggerated. Dolly Parton ain't dead yet, the country superstar said on social media today following public speculation about her health. There are just a lot of rumors flying around, but I figured if you heard it from me, you'd know that I was okay, the 79-year-old singer said in a 2-minute video post on Instagram. I'm not ready to die yet. I don't think God is through with me, and I ain't done working. She was scheduled to perform 6 shows at the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace for Dolly Live in Las Vegas between December 4th and 13th, but canceled that. She wouldn't provide details of her specific illness, but she says, everyone thinks I'm sicker than I am. Do I look sick to you? I'm working hard here. Anyway, I wanted to put everyone's mind at ease. Those of you who seem to be real concerned, which I appreciate, and I appreciate your prayers because I'm a person of faith and I can always use the prayers for anything and everything. I want to clear something up. I didn't mean to scare anyone or make it sound so serious when asking for prayers for Dolly. That's what her sister said. She's been a little under the weather, and I simply asked for prayers because I believe so strongly in the power of prayer. Dolly Parton offered her own clarification video referencing her late husband of nearly 60 years, Carl Dean, who died earlier this year at the age of 82. I want you to know that I'm okay. I've got some problems, as I've mentioned, but back when my husband, Carl, was very sick, that was for a long time. And then when he passed, I didn't take care of myself. So I let a lot of things go that I should have been taken care of. Anyway, when I got around to it, the doctor said, we need to take care of this. We need to take care of that. Nothing major, but I have to cancel some things so I can be closer to home, closer to Vanderbilt, where I'm kind of having a few treatments here and there. And a true Dolly Parton fashion, she ended with a joke. But I wanted you to know that I'm not dying. Did you see that AI picture of Reba McEntire and me? Oh, Lordy. I mean, they had Reba at my deathbed, and we both look like we need to be buried. If I was really dying, I don't think Reba would be the one at my deathbed. She might come visit one day earlier. Dolly Parton being Dolly Parton. It's just brilliant, man. Brilliant stuff. A reassuring thing from Dolly, you know. That story from her sister prompted me to post a few things last night about some folks that are with us, that have been with us for a long time, that you got to appreciate them while they're here. Otis Wilson, the only remaining member of the Temptations. Treat her like a lady. Yeah. Anyway, the Temptations, the founder of the Temptations, 83 years old. Then Dick Van Dyke, who is 99, and in December, if he survives, will be 100 years of age. And then, of course, Clint Eastwood, who's 95. All of them been with us for a very long time and are cherished American legends, like Dolly Parton. So I posted through things on Twitter last night saying, hey, let's appreciate these people while we still have them. Bleary old geezer across from me is snoring, coughing, and not telling nurses he wants to get out of his bed. Well, an Oregon general is insubordinate and is pushing the line for a court-martial with his public comments. Oregon general's testimony that National Guard troops will be protecting any protesters gains traction online. Oregon Brigadier General Alan Hernevald testifies before state legislators on the 30th of September. A 9-day-old snippet of testimony in front of Oregon lawmakers is rocketing around social media as Portland awaits word from the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit Court on President Trump's troop deployment. Oregon's top military leader offered some reassuring or infuriating, depending on one's political perspective, comments. It's not political, it's a question of the Constitution. Comments about the role of the National Guard soldiers during a proposed federal troop deployment. Speaking before State Senate Subcommittee, Brigadier General Alan R. Grunewald told legislators that before deployment, the two companies of soldiers would be trained in protective crowd patrol. That training is now up in the air as Governor Tina Kotek on Tuesday ordered the troops to go home after a federal judge ruled over the weekend that Trump had no authority to call them up. Of course, that federal judge is an asswipe and an incompetent moron who should be removed from the bench. Grunewald said Guard soldiers serve two purposes: one, to defend America, and two, to protect Oregonians. And so by serving this mission, they were protecting any protesters at the ICE facility. Actually, that's fraudulent. That is not the role of the National Guard. That's not a statutory role of the National Guard. That general's making shit up out of thin air. And he is being insubordinate and should be addressed by the National Guard Bureau. If the chief of the National Guard Bureau does not call this renegade general to book soon, we will continue to expose his insubordination. 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 A man fascinated with fire is the one responsible for the deadly Palisades fire. Officials say that Jonathan Rinderknecht, 29 in Melbourne, Florida, intentionally set a fire that rekindled a week later into a devastating blaze that killed 12 people. Federal authorities in Los Angeles said on Wednesday that they had arrested a 29-year-old man who appeared to be obsessed with fire in connection with a wildfire that devastated the wealthy coastal enclave of Pacific Palisades in January. Officials said the man, Jonathan Rinderknecht of Melbourne, had initially intentionally set the fire on New Year's Day on a hiking trail. That small blaze rekindled disastrously a week later into the Palisades fire, killing 12 people and destroying 6,837 structures, most of them homes. In a federal complaint, prosecutors alleged that Mr. Inderkeck, an Uber driver and a former resident of Palisades, dropped off a passenger on New Year's Eve and drove toward a popular trailhead known as Skull Rock. He then parked, tried to call a former friend, and walked up the trail, taking videos with an iPhone and listening on YouTube to a French rap video featuring characters setting things on fire. Then federal authorities alleged he set a fire himself with an open flame and called 911 to report it, but not initially get through because he could not get cell service. As firefighters rushed to the scene, he used his phone to take videos of the response. The ensuing brush fire consumed 8 acres before Los Angeles firefighters declared it had been contained several hours later. However, a gathering windstorm reignited burning embers that had continued to smolder unbeknownst to fire crews and intermittently scoured the area for hot spots for 2 days. A single person's recklessness caused one of the worst fires Los Angeles has ever seen. This is what happens. Joe Biden's legacy gets even worse. 2 new bombshell reports have somehow made Joe Biden's already horrendous legacy even worse. Recently, declassified documents revealed that when he was vice president, Biden blocked the sharing of intelligence reports showing that Ukrainian officials' concerns about his family's corrupt business deals, thereby covering up his fraud. Another shocking report exposes Biden weaponized the FBI, and we know about that, spying on 8 senators, a member of the House of Representatives, and Turning Point USA, among others. Britain's once mighty Conservative Party is battling to avoid extinction. Britain's Conservatives used to boast that they were the world's most successful political party. Not anymore. They're not. They're just scumbags. The Tories are an absolute disgrace. They're nearly as bad, if not worse, than the Labour Party. They should be disbanded, along with the Labour Party. Well, friend or foe, the Tories are grappling with the rise of the Reform Party. Nigel Farage has loomed over this party conference season as established parties scramble to come up with a response to the rapid rise of Reform UK. Yeah, well, too bad for the Tories, too bad for Labour. How about a real party running that country? Mkwanazi says the sovereignty of the state has been compromised. In his testimony today, he said that the state has been compromised. Well, he may very well be correct. We shall see. Mkwanazi at the ad hoc hearing, according to the MK party, these pretend soldiers of stolen valor, sitting around pretending like they're actually warriors wearing camouflaged uniforms, said the country in the hand of criminals. Look at these fake soldiers. Nkontwi Sizwe, members of the ad hoc committee investigating allegations made by SAP's KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner Lieutenant General Nandla Mkwanazi, said the bravery is unquestionable and that the country is in the hands of criminals. Members of Parliament Tulani Shongwe, David Skosana, and Sibonelo Nomvalo represent the MK party on the committee, probing allegations. I can tell the nation that Lieutenant General Mkwanazi is meticulous in all his responses here, and he's done his spade work. He's a seasoned policeman, experienced above reproach, who cares for his people. Until that statement, I had confidence that General Mkwanazi was a legitimate person telling the truth. Now that he's been endorsed by the MK party, I begin to question his bona fides. Well, if you can't have your way, destroy the infrastructure. This is the behavior of a majority of people in South Africa whose feelings are hurt. Fort Hare students decide to burn down buildings during their violent protests. These are domestic terrorists. They should all be rounded up and imprisoned for no less than 20 years. In a dramatic showing of frustration during protests, University of Fort Hare students in the Eastern Cape have allegedly set alight the administration and student affairs building. Well, that's great. Now there'll be no classes, you morons. The act of arson comes after growing unrest and desperation among students who feel their voices are not being heard regarding their governance and representation. Well, I don't give two flying shit shakes of your problems. You are domestic terrorists. You should be hunted down, prosecuted, and put in prison for no less than 20 years. Case closed. South African cities are in a death spiral. Well, thank you for the news update. We know that. The Deputy Finance Minister says. South Africa's main municipalities, with the exception of Cape Town, are in a death spiral, spending way too much money on administrative staff and too little on maintaining building infrastructure, Deputy Finance Minister warned. Salary bills have grown much faster than inflation, faster than revenue, and far faster than service outputs. Ashur Surapen told the Cape Town Press Club. The result is a state that looks busy, that delivers less, consuming more in salaries and symbolism while investing less in infrastructure that actually keeps our cities alive. That's because it's all about patronage and rewarding the loyalty to Latuli House, not about delivering service to South Africans. That's why. Well, Netflix is suffering now because they're idiot shitheads. Sorry for language, but that's what they are. Netflix sees a Musk-led subscription boycott over its transgender-friendly children's programming. When it comes to transgender and non-binary characters and children's programming, not even Disney can keep up with Netflix. The streaming service saw its stock take a hit after tech billionaire Elon Musk called for a boycott, announcing he had canceled his subscription and urging others to do the same over the platform's gender identity content in multiple shows for children as young as 2 years of age. Netflix is deliberately choosing to pay people to create sexualized content for children. Freedom of speech should be respected, but this is paid speech. Netflix is going out of their way and reaching into the wallet to push this. I'm trans Norma, and everybody at school knows and everybody at home knows the character tells a friend in the episode. And being here, it's like a whole new place where I can just be Barney, and I can choose when and if I tell people. I've never been happier. The show, listed for children aged 7 and older, ran 20 episodes before being canceled in 2023, but it remains available on Netflix's platform. And the program is far from alone in promoting transgender content. Libs of TikTok followed up by posting clips from more than half a dozen kids shows available on Netflix that gender-bending characters and content. Companies cannot keep getting away with pushing radical ideologies such as transgenderism on children. Cancel Netflix. Netflix saw its market cap drop by $15 billion last week. $15 billion last week. That's 4% of South Africa's annual GDP in 1 week. Musk urged his followers to cancel Netflix in October 1st message, prompting a flurry of subscribers to cancel their sending cancellation notices in. The streamer recovered some of the losses Tuesday as the stock closed at $1,191 a share, up from the low of $1,139, but off its high of $1,300. Fueling the outrage was an ex-post last month reported by Hamish Steele, creator of Dead End, Paranormal Park, slamming conservative activist Charlie Kirk a day after his assassination, as shown in Libs on TikTok screenshot. Mr. Steele has since locked his account. He denied that Netflix is promoting the show, calling it all lies and slander. Netflix has yet to respond. Netflix should be canceled because it's a theft platform. They are cheating and lying to their subscribers, like me. They told me the fee was $6.99 for premium content in 4K. Now it's $24 a month for crap programming. Yep. In a 2023 episode of Colonial Lane, a boy is encouraged by his gay dads to dance in a tiara and tutu. The program is designed for preschoolers aged 2 and older. The show, which ran 2020 to 2025, was picked up by Disney Plus after Netflix decided not to renew it. Even robots have gender identities. In a 2023 episode of the animated show Transformers Earthspark, streaming on Netflix, includes a scene in which a girl named Morgan explains that the Transformer Nightshade uses they-them pronouns. He or she just doesn't fit who I am, says Nightshade. Morons. Disgusting stuff. In the animated fantasy series The Dragon Prince, a character named Terry says, "Back then, when I was just a little one, the other elves saw me as a doe, but I knew that I was a buck." Also available on Netflix is The Dream Life of Georgie Stone, a 2022 documentary about an Australian male-to-female transgender actor and activist who became, at age 10, the youngest person in the nation to gain access to puberty blockers for purposes of transition. At least one member of Congress wants to know more about Netflix's transgender program. Representative Tim Burchett, Tennessee Republican, told conservative broadcaster Benny Johnson he wants to question company executives about their agenda at a committee hearing. Yeah. Yep. Sick. Forward hardware just give away illegal qualifications anyway. So, yeah, good point. Frick says he's done with Netflix. I got you. I understand you. I saw some people screaming and swearing, people destroying pavements, using foul language, spitting. Doubt if residents living in those areas appreciate that destructive behavior. Yeah, well, it all started in 1996, I think it was, or was it 95, with the freaking lunatics in Seattle who trashed McDonald's and Starbucks during the World Trade Organization meeting. What the hell do those business owners have to do with world trade? The left is demented. They're violent. They're dangerous. They're anarchists. They're scumbags. They're criminals. They're domestic terrorists. They're all those things. They're anti-Christian, anti-white, anti-heterosexual, anti-male, misandrist. They're sick. They're twisted. They're repulsive. They're violent. They are hideous looking. They are all the evil things you can imagine. So for those who missed the radio program earlier, I talked about in my radio program earlier about the murder rate. So the murder rate in the United States is 5 per 100,000. It's too high. It should be 0, but no country is 0. But 5 per 100,000, which is not that high, actually, despite the lies about America. By contrast, South Africa is 45. Per 100,000 South Africans are murdered. 5 Americans, 8 times as many South Africans. Well, folks, 9. 9 times 5 is 40. Yeah, 9 times as many South Africans, 9 times the rate of American murders. So that's the national rate. In the United States, the city of Chicago has 16 per 100,000, 3 times the U.S. rate. Nashville also has 16. Memphis, Tennessee, where the U.S. forces have been deployed, the National Guard, the murder rate is 41 per 100,000, bordering on the same level as South Africa. It's war. It's carnage. To hear idiots claim otherwise shows you they're either liars, frauds, or dumber than Boxer Rocks. 42 people per 100,000 people murdered in the city of Memphis. Wow, that's insane. Barely behind South Africa. I mean, that's not a category you want to come in first in. Let South Africa come first. Anyway, so that's where we're at, folks. It's pretty scary, isn't it, Clipper 14? Pretty scary. Memphis, 42 murders per 100,000 people. The U.S. rate is 5. But we don't need the National Guard deployed. People don't want the National Guard in their cities. What a crock of horse shit. Only leftist hate wankers don't want people there. Average citizens do. Colonel, if we have a look at the age of those wokes, really, why? Well, you'd be surprised. People with those dumb ideas come across the age spectrum. You think they're all millennials. They're not. They're not. If you look at most of the protests in America, the pro-Palestine protests, the anti-deportation of criminal alien invaders, the pro-transgender indoctrination of minor children, the exposing children to pornography in public schools, the vast majority of those morons are white liberals who are retirement age, who have nothing better to do other than destroy this country. That's the truth of the matter, folks. That's the truth of the matter. Funny how people act like illegal doesn't mean wrong. Exactly. Yeah. And they love to call things that are legal illegal. Like saying that Trump deploying troops to Portland is illegal. It's not. It's not. He's authorized to do it under the Constitution. He doesn't have to invoke the Insurrection Act. Doesn't have to do it. We have activist judges who should be disbarred and likely imprisoned for endangering public safety. We'll see how their hatred of law enforcement and military switches once or well, that's the thing. Once they've been assaulted, carjacked, raped, harmed, shot, stabbed, suddenly their view changes. Trump's approval rating is over 50%, and 65% of Americans approve of what Trump is doing, deploying the National Guard in multiple national surveys, including the CNN New York Times poll. So the leftists can spin this any way they want. They're just lying to you. They're just lying to you. Wild how people rush to justify what's illegal just because it fits their feelings. Yeah, exactly. What did I say about Pete Hegseth and Department of Defense last night? Their banning reporters from reporting information that defense officials share with them is unconstitutional. It's wrong. It doesn't fit my narrative. I don't want people saying bad things about my military. But if you share that information with them, unless you say it's off the record, you have no right to tell them they can't publish it. That's censorship. That's a violation of the First Amendment. The Pentagon had a wishy-washy policy that led people to believe that they couldn't report things. You can't do that. So they've corrected it. And I argued against them. See, that didn't fit my narrative. I'm honest. But leftists aren't honest. If I'm honest, leftists are nothing but pathological liars. Pathological liars. They will defend and scream and moan and piss about a pedophile who's molested dozens of children, or a serial killer who's murdered women and raped them and mutilated them, and call for them, life is precious, save their life. You have no right to take their life. Yet they will walk out and murder a 7-month-old baby in the womb. They're psychopaths. An innocent child removed from this planet, one of God's children. Yet they'll defend rapists, murderers, psychopaths, killers. They're just sick. It's a mental illness. The Democratic Party once upon a time represented the working class. Now it's just a collective psychosis. A collective psychosis. Each and every day it passes, when I see nonsense like Nancy Pelosi saying that the person running for office in Virginia, because he's a Democrat, on balance is a better candidate, despite the fact that he publicly tells people he dreams of murdering Republicans. That's a mentally unbalanced person. And the Democrats covering that up. The Congress refusing to investigate the allegations of Ilhan Omar marrying her sibling and committing immigration fraud. She should be stripped of her citizenship if any of that's true. But the fact they won't even investigate it speaks volumes. Each and every day, it becomes more and more evident that the Democratic Party is a bunch of psychopaths. They have no remorse. They don't care whom they hurt. All they want to do is destroy. I say we buy them all a ticket to Ontario and ship them there. Exactly, Courtney. Liberals also claim that the flag of the United States is just a piece of cloth and they can piss on it and burn it and step on all they want. But so what about the Confederate flag? That's just a flag. They lose their minds if someone pisses or steps on or tramples on the rainbow flag for gay pride. Oh my gosh, you're censoring free speech. You're a homophobe. Well, you're an anti-American scumbag if you destroy the American flag. The hypocrisy of the left is beyond the pale. The fact that people can't see it shows how stupid much of the world is. It shows how stupid much of the world is. That's what I don't get about rights. Somehow it's okay for someone to stand on your rights just to project their own. Exactly. Exactly. Democrats haven't held a statewide position in Utah in nearly 40 years, and my state is... You're right. Utah is one of the cleanest, most successful, safest, healthiest, and happiest places to live in America. All true. Every statement there is true. It's not paradise on earth, but Desiree is quite lovely. And it's prosperous. Very prosperous. You're spot on, Courtney. That's true. And it's been run by Republicans for 40 years. True. I've been ignoring Dogzilla's stupidity here, but I'll answer. The Democrats seem to be fighting for health care for Americans. What's Trump fighting for? America. He's fighting for Americans. Not for corrupt deals to enrich pharmaceutical and insurance companies, the paid friends who finance the luxury junkets and vacations and fill the coffers for re-election of corrupt Democrats and some Republicans. No, Trump is fighting for Americans. If you can't see that, then maybe you should move to Canada. By the way, the Prime Day was pretty lame. I haven't really found much of anything. I didn't really buy much. But I did notice that T-Mobile is billing me 911 taxes for two places that I don't even live. They're billing me for here. They're billing me for Dulles, Virginia, and they're billing me for Andrews Air Force Base. I'm sorry, 4 places. Dulles, Dulles, Virginia. I'm sorry, yeah, 3 places. Andrews Air Force Base, Dulles, Virginia, and Dulles, Virginia. What the hell is that? Why am I paying $5 a month in taxes? That's crap. My phone is not registered there. I don't live there. I don't use 911 service. If I dial 911, it won't go there. They're stealing my money. I dealt with that tonight. I'm overwhelmed with the stupidity surrounding me lately. It's so frustrating dealing with stupidity among other daily. It's true. Last week, Utah Mammoth jerseys were on sale. They were selling. Well, I don't know where they're on sale, Courtney, because there were none in the Delta Center. I went to the Delta Center. They have no jerseys, so I don't know where they're getting jerseys for on sale for $100, unless they arrived the day after I left. I went there. They said we don't have jerseys. I looked. Their selection was crap, and their prices were outrageous for the things they did have. They wanted $65 for a T-shirt. These people are criminals. Criminals. Yeah, I know. I wanted a Mammoth shirt, but they had none. Missed my cue. I could have got them 25% off online through the NHL, but I didn't do it. Hey, Malcolm, what's going on? Out of control, Colonel, and all even by far worse than you've just mentioned. True. I've been very, very reserved in my reflection or statement about this stuff. Oh gosh, Courtney, I'd have to look for a hockey jersey, but I'm guessing X large or double X large. I'd have to look and see. Yeah. Time you screen my rights. It's someone ends with someone, but I mean, I don't want one that says Utah on it. I want one with the Mammoth on it, and I want the color jersey, not the road white jersey. But they didn't have anything. So let me see if I can find the ones I'm looking for. Let me see. So NHL.com. Right now, my game is on Vegas. Gold Knights were losing. They're still losing 3-1 now. That sucks. Teams shop. Here we go. Go shop. Jerseys. We'll go by team. I'll show you which one I'm looking for. I'm not in a rush to get it. So I want do all teams. I want the Utah Mammoth. Okay. All right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's like a black one with blue trim. So that's the one with the Mammoth on it. That one there. I haven't picked a name though, which one I want. You know, $174 for the breakaway, and $229 for the actual original one. It's pretty pricey, but they were 25% off last week, so that would be $55 off. That would have been. This one would have been $45 off, maybe $130. But it wouldn't have been $100. $100 must have been a really good deal, man. That's a really good deal. Yeah, I don't see Liam O'Brien on the team anymore, and that's who I was hoping to get it. So there's a ladies' jersey. I definitely don't want that. Look at that clearance, $75. Yep, kids for $49, and it's awesome. But yeah, the black one's the one. Oh, look at it. There's $91 Fanatics home premium jersey. Oh, but that's the Utah one. I don't want Utah. I want the Mammoth on it. Anyway, so. Hey, Martin Fundamev, what's going on, man? Every time you scream my rights, it somehow ends with someone else losing theirs. Exactly. That's like, members of Congress. Well, we passed the law. Yeah, and you stole my freedom. They don't get that. They don't get it. They don't get that their laws steal our freedom. That's not something to be proud of. Voices in my head? I don't know. Did I post it? I'll have to take a look and see. Good question. Distro. Let me see. No, I didn't. You're right, I didn't. Sorry about that. Voices in my head. Maybe I was kind of reserved because I didn't want people to get upset. No, you can't find it because I posted. But Old Faithful's posted. Wear a sign. The grass is greener. Where were you? Cyril's coming to town. English pride. I'm over the target. Charlie stands on. Bugger off bunnies escape. Drive me crazy. Bitter ender anthem. Get me out of here. Double standards. The General's tale. Devil's brew. Morning brew. Do penguins have knees? Stay strong. No elite control. Flight to freedom. Bot gone rogue. FAFO Fridays, Sanctioned State of Mind, Pala Pala Nights, Email Avalanche, Our Saffers, Sweeney's Hot Jeans, Sweeney's Jeans, Footsec Yardbirds, It's Not My Fault, Alabama Heat, Tariff D-Day Blues, Stay Off My Lawn, Steam Crabs, Just Ain't Boiling Frogs, Just a Boer and Boermeissie, Afrikaner Stark, Sterk, Weekend Girl, The Pot Boils Over, Not Just Your Oyster, Trade Wars of the Heart, Return of the Bugger Off Bunny, Couch Money Chronicles, The Best Decade Ever, Crying Shame, Skeeter Season Back Again, Skeeter Season, Golden Hair Defender, Another Day Has Arrived, South Africa, My Geboorteplek, My Toiste, Gotta Get Along, Stuck in the Groove, No Confidence in the Man, Cyril the Waffle Man, Bleeding Soil, Make South Africa Great Again, Dim the Lights, Natalie, Get It Together, Persona Non Grata, Colonel Chris Lives On, Meet and Greet Vibes, Ramaphosa's Gambit, Proud and Strong, The Right Move, The Bugger Off Bunny, Springboks Glory, Meerkats in Space, Cat Got Your Tongue, Heart of a Nation, Slipping Away, Jellyfish Way, and Save South Africa. That's all my songs that are published. So if you want the voices in my head, I guess I have to go publish that then. World's going down to crapper, so thankful it worked out to have no kids and not planning on having kids. Well, that's a shame. That's a shame. Yeah, $230 a shirt is outrageous. I agree. But they got to pay those people they pay $40 million contracts to. That's what's pushing this. So, yeah. Rebecca, how you doing there? What's going on? So I got through today, busy day, up early, doing production, answering messages, coordinating interviews, then did my news broadcast, finished my news broadcast. After that, I did Ronaldo. After Ronaldo, I was going to go into Veterans Organization, but since I have to go in Thursday, I decided it was time to wash my car instead, and I washed my car, came back, got something to eat, wasn't too thrilled with my dinner tonight, and then took a short nap, and then did my radio show. From the radio show, I watched most of the first period of my Golden Knights losing to the Los Angeles Kings, and then I came live on this program. That's been my day. Yep. Now, Husky, I haven't put voice in my head yet, so I take it you want to see that. Frick Peterse, there you go. All right. So, wow, we got 177, and we hit 177, 176. Now we're down to 159. What happened? Noble words, but selective empathy isn't virtue. It's performance. Caring for society starts with honesty, not slogans. Agreed. Queers for Palestine is not an action. Virtue signaling by impeding maritime traffic and pretending to be a humanitarian flotilla when you have no humanitarian resources, you're just out there attention seeking, is not a solution. It's just nonsense. Colonel, I'm so glad I was born in 2002. I was born in an era that still had a strong masculine era with movies, video games, like Call of Duty. I mean, Call of Duty now is a woke disaster. I haven't seen Call of Duty in ages. Hit the like button. Yeah, hit the like button. That doesn't cost you anything but a moment. We got 500 tonight. That's good to see. That's good for just not even an hour in. That's much better than yesterday. You could have put a down payment on a FLIR. $230 might pay for a hotel room out west if I'm lucky. Yeah, no, I didn't pay $230 for anywhere, but I didn't always stay in the best of places. I stayed in average places. Yeah, so these are times that call for us to make sacrifices because of the Biden inflation, which has eviscerated our incomes, destroyed our incomes, really crushed people on fixed incomes. And now the interest rates are going to start coming down, and that's also going to hurt people. But it's necessary to grow the economy. It's out of control. Yeah, okay. I'm going to cover something here just to get the exact facts from it. The top 1% of U.S. income earners paid 40% of all federal income taxes. 99% of the population pays 60% of the tax. 1% pays 40.4%. Wow. The bottom 50% of taxpayers in this country are freeloaders. The bottom 50% of taxpayers pay a grand total of, who wants to guess what the bottom 50% of taxpayers in this country pay? Now, we're not even talking about people who don't pay any taxes, because a lot of people don't pay any taxes. But of those who pay taxes, the bottom 50%, what percentage of taxes? Now, it can't be 40%, so there's only 60%. So in that 60%, the bottom 50% of all taxpayers pay a percentage. What do you want to guess? Utopic guess is 9. Not a bad guess. Not a bad guess. Anyone want to guess? That's it. The bottom 50% of taxpayers. 5% says Phoenix. Okay. Now, bear in mind, this is over 100 million people that pay taxes. 12%, 11%, 20%. All decent guesses. Ladies and gentlemen, 3%. 3%. Yet we have people whining about billionaires. The billionaires are the ones that pay the tax under a corrupt, immoral system, treating some people as better than others. And the stupid-ass argument that will come after that is, well, they profit from the system. Well, that's because they have talent and they apply it. 3%. 3%. 3%. Half the country pays 3% of the federal tax load. Sales tax has nothing to do with federal taxes. Excise tax does on your phone bill, on your mobile bill, on your cable bill. That's true. Wow. Wow. 3%. Yeah. So here's where it's even worse. We want to talk about unfair. If the top 1% earned 40% of the income and paid 40% of the taxes, that would seem reasonable, right? But the top 1% only earned 22% of the income. So they made 22% of the income, yet they paid twice as much in taxes as everyone else. 40.4% of the federal taxes were paid by the top 1% who only earned 22.4% of the total income. So they pay taxes at twice the rate of anybody else. Minimum. It's confiscation. It's theft. Well, light rain, those taxes apply to everybody. Those taxes apply to everybody. Property taxes, if you own a home, if you rent a place, you're paying for property taxes because the owner's got to pay the taxes and they push this on you. Sales tax, excise tax, fuel tax, carbon tax, we all pay those taxes. The only differentiation here, that's consumption. If you don't consume, you don't pay the taxes. The only difference here is that the wealthy are soaked in this country and they're demonized by hateful people who lie about them at every turn. Lie about them. The people who create the jobs, the people who fund the businesses, the people who flow and make this country happen are demonized. They're bilked out of twice their rate of income in taxation. I agree with you, Courtney McBride. Paying property taxes is theft. I mean, it's ridiculous. When I moved into my house, which is a middle class, lower middle class house, new construction, but shitty construction, poorly done by illegal immigrants, and a corrupt, embezzling real estate company, which we didn't know about at the time. None of us knew that. My escrow for insurance was only $4,200 a year just a few years ago. It's now nearly $10,000. My income is 50% lower than it was when I served in the Army, and my taxes have doubled. I have no children in the school. The road to enter my development is a shithole. It looks like a South African road. I can't drive on the left. I can't drive on the right. I drive on what's left of the road. And you go around curves. It's dangerous. The volume of traffic is insane. They've now opened up a subdevelopment next to this one and connected a road. And now people use that to get around the crappy road. And they come flying down the road in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, going 40 miles an hour. Children playing in the street. It's just a matter of time before a kid is maimed or killed or a car hit. I nearly got hit last week. I was stopped, signaled, looked left, looked right, looked left, and was ready to pull out when a truck came blaring by at about 45 miles an hour in a residential neighborhood. Yeah, and for that, I pay taxes. My homeowner's insurance, I've never made a single claim on my home. My homeowner's insurance has tripled from $500 to $1,800, almost 4 times as much. The value of my home hasn't increased at that rate. I'm just being fleeced and bilked at every turn. My escrow payment every month is higher than the interest on my loan. My homeowner's principal paying down the loan is only larger than the escrow because I have been paying hundreds of dollars a month more money that I could use and enjoy life to pay down the mortgage to reduce the interest. All the while, the escrow keeps going up. At some point, it's going to be more than what I'm paying down on my loan because of this taxation. This is a corrupt state where the school district does not have to go to the voters to raise taxes. They have the ability to raise it every year within a certain threshold. What kind of morons, liberal leftist retards come up with a taxation system like that? You want to tax people? In America, you're supposed to ask them. But I agree. Property taxes, no. But that's how we fund schools. Unless you're a black neighborhood, then you get money from the government. They give you handouts. I don't hate the billionaires, but they pay less back to society. That's a lie. That's a flat-out lie, dogs. I just gave you the facts. Look them up. Go look up any federal income tax site research. Just a total lie. They give a lot more back to society. They create tens of millions of jobs. They're philanthropists. You ever heard of the Carnegie Foundation? The Kennedy Center? You ever heard of places like this? Libraries, schools, clinics, hospitals all over this country donated by billionaires and millionaires over the decades and the centuries. The wealthy are the biggest philanthropists. The wealthy are the ones who create the most jobs. And they pay the most taxes. And everything you're saying about them is simply a lie, Dogzilla. I don't know. I don't care if you hate them or love them. That isn't germane. But tell the truth about them. I don't love them. I don't hate them. But I tell the truth about them. Morning and evening to all. Hey, Sandra, what's going on? Taxes on a pension is immoral. That's correct. You've already paid taxes. Yep. Extending the ACA will not affect you, Chris. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. It will encourage more people to be deadbeats. And it continues to pervert the insurance market, driving up my cost of insurance, making me pay more every year for premiums for copays when I should not be paying more. Think of Nouns, welcome to you. You're asking Phoenix who made his Super Bowl picks. I made my Super Bowl picks. I got my reminder today. By the way, in the Premier League in England, I'm at 78% correct picks because I did get those picks in. But somehow my picks on Friday for Super Bowl last week for the URC didn't make it. Somebody said I didn't put them in. Well, that's odd because I did put the Premier League in. So I don't know how they didn't get in there. It's the difference between working hard and doing a good job. And the Dems yell about hardworking immigrants and may be able to say, yeah, there's no such thing as hardworking immigrants. There's just hardworking people. I put my Super Brew in. 40.4. Multiple sites here. National Taxpayers Union says exact same figure. The Peter O. Peterson Foundation says exact same figure. Wow. USA Facts says exact same figure. Tax Foundation says it's worse because they're using the 2024 data, which apparently is worse than it was in 2023. In 2020, I'm sorry, this is 2021, so that it said 2023. So 2021 data, there were 153.6 million tax returns, reported earning more than $14.7 trillion in adjusted gross income, paid nearly $2.2 trillion individual income taxes. The average income tax rate was 14.9%. The top 1% of taxpayers paid a 25.9% rate, nearly 8 times higher than the 3.3% average paid by the bottom half of taxpayers. They pay 8 times the rate of taxation and double what their income is. The top 1% share of income rose to 22%, or to 26% in 2020. It's gone back down. But its share of taxes rose to 45.8%. Nearly half of all taxes in 2021 in federal government were paid by the top 1%. The top 50% of taxpayers paid 97.7%. Remember I said 3% for that bottom 50%? Yeah. It was actually 2.3% in 2021. Yep. Wow. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Yikes. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. The most important thing for this nation is our security. Therefore, The security of the nation, which would include the military, the Coast Guard, the Federal Aviation Administration, Border Control, Customs, Immigration. That's the most important function of the federal government. There's nothing in the Constitution that authorizes the government to spend money on health care. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing. It's unconstitutional. What you're arguing makes no sense whatsoever. You're saying the top 1% of lawyers and accountants can hire to avoid those things. What are they avoiding? They're paying 45% of the tax. What are they avoiding? Why are they paying tax at 8 times the rate? They're not very good at avoiding things. Are you saying they should be paying 16 times the rate of the poorest people? I don't get your point there. No, there's not. They didn't approve the Senate's latest bill tonight. They voted it down again. Democrats are not looking for an end to this. P.T. Britt says no business like taxing citizens. Yep, agree. Yep. If the highest income group earned 22% income, they must be making a lot of money, if my maths are correct, and not saying they should pay more interest rates or against the poor. I don't understand your point, Rudolph. What is your point? And I don't understand your math. In that year, the top 1% made 22.4% of the income. I think that was 2024. They paid 44, or was it 42 or 44%? Anyway, double, essentially double. It was 44.4% or something like that of the total tax bill. 1% of the population who filed tax returns. That's insane. Now, if they paid 22%, you'd say, okay, well, they earned 22% of the money, so they paid 22% of the tax. That's not what they paid. They paid double that. To an effective tax rate of 26%, when the bottom half had an effective tax rate of 3.3%. How is that fair? Why do I have to pay more taxes than other people? I pay more in taxes and higher rates than people around here that work. Disposable income is nothing to do with anything. That has nothing to do with anything, Keith. Nothing to do with anything. Nothing to do with anything. The government has no right to take 48% of my income. 10% is fair. 2% to the state. That's fair. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid shouldn't exist. Yes, I reported Mad Max on Fort Hare and the burning of the buildings and talked about those domestic terrorists already. No, healthcare is not the most important thing. It's not. You don't need care if you're dead. You've been murdered. Yes, Courtney, I'm considering moving to Wyoming. You're right, Phoenix. People should stop looking for handouts and start, step and pull up their socks and working for themselves. Keith, I don't agree with you. Disposable income has no bearing on this. No bearing whatsoever. By your logic, if I understand it, maybe I misunderstand your logic, Keith. By your logic, if someone makes $20 million, they should be obliged to pay $8 million of that in taxes, and they'll be fine because they've got $12 million left. That's not right. They don't get 12 million. See, that was the whole point. This whole argument started when Dogzilla was trying to be difficult. And I ignored his stupid points for most of the evening, but that was interesting. So he said that, the billionaires don't contribute anything to society. Really? Really? What the hell do they get for it? They pay 44% of the tax. Do they get 44% of the benefits? Do they get 44% of the highways to themselves? Do they get 44% of the customs immigration agents focused exclusively on them? Do they get airspace cleared for them because they pay 44% of the tax? Do they get 44% of the water service delivery, sewage, trash removal, national defense dedicated to them? No. They get nothing. They overpay for nothing. And we haven't even talked about property taxes for those people with that income or all the other taxes. Dogzilla is just going back to the other point. I'm going to give you a timeout here in a minute, Dogzilla. You're starting to become a broken record. Corporation tax. There should be no tax on corporations. None whatsoever. If I ran this country, it would be the first thing I eliminate. First thing I eliminate. Corporate income tax is stupid, self-defeating, and moronic. Absolutely. Absolutely. Why in the world do you shoot the engine of economic growth in the foot? Nail its foot to the ground so they can't prosper. because of stupid attitudes about corporations. Most businesses fail within the first year. 95% of businesses fail within 12 months. The entrepreneurs who try those businesses and fail, many of them pick it up and try another business and try again. And eventually some of them succeed. Corporations should pay nothing in taxes. Nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. The only thing they should pay taxes is whatever sales tax for, something the inputs they buy. They should be paying no taxes. Nothing whatsoever. Because it's resulting in multiple taxation on the same income stream. Corporation makes $1 million. They pay, it was 35%, now it's 22%. They pay 22% at the federal government. So now they're down to $78 million. Then they pay states, depending on the state, sometimes they pay 2, 3, 4, 5%. So let's say it's 3%. So now they got $75 million. They've just created $25 million of dead capital by handing it to corrupt politicians in Washington and in the Harrisburg. That's $25 million that can't be used to reward shareholders who invest in the company who took a risk. That's $25 million that can't be invested in paying workers higher salaries, buying new equipment, building new factories, expanding. It can't be used. It'll be used by the government to fund Robert Mapplethorpe and food stamps and gay, lesbian affairs and voting rights in Africa. They make that up. That's something we found out recently. They'll take our money and waste it on crap like that. Corporations should not be taxed. If states want to tax them, that's a different story because they're resident in the state. And the state can make the argument that they consume resources, services, emergency services, fire, police, water, electricity. They can make that argument and tax them. I got no problem with that. But the federal government has no business taxing corporations. If the federal government overnight stopped taxing corporations and eliminated corporate income tax, this country's economy would take off. Trump's economy grew in no small measure because the corporate tax rate declined from 35 to 22%. We are still not competitive with most of the developed world, which has lower corporate income tax rates. If we want serious development in this country, we will take the federal income tax and scrap it. And overnight, we will be more competitive in every aspect of the economy, the size of our economy, the number of consumers in the economy, the amount of money available, which we already are. And then the final nail in the coffin is no corporate tax. Companies will reshore here. Those who are here will make more money. They'll be able to pay their employees more. They'll have more benefits. They'll repatriate profits to their investors, and they'll grow their companies and expand, creating more jobs and more innovation, more research. Pharmaceuticals and IT companies will do more research and develop new things faster. The government just wastes the money. They spend deficit spend anyway. So why give them that money? Just take it away from them. Starve them of those funds. Stop our corporate taxation. It's immoral. It's stupid. You charge the corporation taxes on its income. Then it has to pay wages. You charge the workers taxes on those wages. And then the workers spend that money and you charge them taxes on the spending. And they invest that money and you charge them taxes on the income off of that. It's asinine. 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 Should be zero, Conrad, but your point is valid. 10% is more than enough. If we eliminate corporate tax, Canada will wither. They'll wither because they can't survive without corporate tax. They're a socialist country, and they won't make it without the corporate taxes. And their corporate taxes nationally are 12%. Some provinces raise it to 16 or 18%. But if we lower ours to zero, it would destroy Canada. Destroy them. Many tech companies have come to Utah due to low corporate tax rate for startup companies. That doesn't change the 22% they have to pay the federal government. We eliminate a whole army and host of accountants and lawyers. No longer necessary. No corporate taxes. Just have to report their income level so we can track, GDP growth. Yep. Everything Colonel's saying makes a lot of sense, but also worth noting the American middle class doesn't live nearly as well as it did 30 years ago. Well, Courtney, they could live a lot better. And corporations could lower prices if they weren't paying so much in taxes and pay their employees more, give them more benefits. And that's what happened last time. They said, oh, Trump's giving tax breaks to billionaires and corporations. Well, he did. And who are the beneficiaries? The middle class. Company after company after company after company raised wages, gave payouts to their employees, many companies in the IT world, in the manufacturing world. And many invested in new machines, new equipment, and new technology with the money they no longer pissed down the drain giving to the government. 27 corporate, 20 dividend, and 17 personal tax. I pay 28% in federal income tax. I pay 3% in Pennsylvania's tax, and I pay 18% in Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. It's 48% of my income. Dividends, I pay 20%. Capital gains, I pay, what is that right now? I can't remember, 24%, something like that. Small car does no damage to the roads. Only large commercial vehicles should pay road tax. No, your car does do damage, Keith. It does. All cars do damage. They all wear down the road surface. Yep. The friction of your tires rolling across that pavement, it's a lot slower than heavy vehicles, but it still does damage. It still wears it down. Yep. There you say it, Colonel. Taxis, socialist point. Taxes, socialist. No country just overtaxes itself out of poverty. Exactly. No, the countries that succeed are the ones that lower tax rates and make it a haven for corporations. Yep. Concept of taxing less is in lieu of generating more tax. The concept too far for some people. Well, that's because they're not very bright. So when George Bush lowered the federal income tax rate, initially revenue to the federal government dipped, which makes sense because in the first year, you're not going to see a major gain in jobs and growth in the economy because that money has to be invested. It takes some time for it to be placed productively or returned to employees or invested in new development or dividends. So it takes time for that money. So that first year, you typically see a dip. Sometimes a big one, sometimes a little one. If the economy is growing well already, it's not going to dip much. But then in the out years, the numbers go up. The highest ever year of personal income tax accrued to the federal government in the history of this country, up to that point, was in 2008. And if you remember in 2008, the last 3 months of the year were a wash. We lost 3 million jobs, 4 million jobs, because the banking crisis precipitated by the federal government's interference in the housing market through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and the Community Reinvestment Act. So the last 3 months were write-off. But because people were making so much money that year in the economy, especially in capital gains, the stock market was roaring up until that point, that was the largest ever amount of income tax. And that came after the Bush tax cut came after. 4 years after tax cut record. And every year after that first dip, it went up, up, up. When Trump cut taxes, same thing happened. Little dip, and then it took off. Little dip, took off. And we have record amounts of income tax revenue coming in because of tax cuts. We have record amounts of corporate income tax coming in because of tax cuts. The lower the taxes, the healthier the economy, the more it grows, the more it gets invested, the more investors get back, the more reward they get, the more they want to invest and accrue wealth, and the more they pay their employees to get the best employees, the most reliable employees, and get the best product. It's very simple mathematics, very simple explanation, but communists don't understand it. Leftists don't understand it because they're dumb as a box of rocks. They think if you raise taxes, you get more money. You do initially, but you crush development. You crush corporate expansion. You crush entrepreneurialism. You take the incentives away for people to create new jobs, new factories, new technologies, Walkmans, solid state drives, mobile phones. You take all that incentive away because people are not rewarded for it. Sweden had a top tax rate of 90%. Do you know the top tax rate when John Fitzgerald Kennedy was president of the United States? The top income tax rate in this country. Does anybody know what it was? Take a guess. Take a guess. Sweden was crazy, 90%. But today, the top tax rate is 35%, I think. What do you think the top tax rate was when Kennedy became president? Remember, Kennedy was a Democrat. What was the top tax rate and what did he do to it? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess? Son pays 50% personal tax. That's crazy, George. Yeah. Eliminate the Federal Reserve Act. I'm not in favor of that. Paying taxes doesn't excuse ignoring the law or turning a blind eye. That's true. No, see, that's nonsense. See, Dogzilla, your understanding of history is flawed or you're dishonest. George Bush, when he ran for re-election in 2004, warned the country and warned Congress that we had a coming financial crisis tied to the real estate market because of the situation that the government allowed Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to be in. They accrued 2/3, 67% of all mortgages, home mortgages in this country, were in the hands of two parastatal quasi-government agencies who had a conflicting mandate to, one, provide housing, affordable housing for the poor, make that possible, to give loans to people who otherwise couldn't get loans and weren't qualified because of poor credit and their inability to repay it. That's government interference in the marketplace, weakening and jeopardizing the marketplace. And they were incorporated and publicly traded companies and had a mandate to get a return on investment for investors. So the only way they could continue to get more money and grow that, because they already own 2/3 of the mortgages in the country by buying them in the secondary market, which these are people who couldn't even get a loan from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, but they wound up owning their mortgage paper because they bought it from their banks. The only way to increase profit and dividends and get more people to buy their stock, increase the value, and address that aspect of their charter was to buy mortgages in the secondary market, package them in commercial-backed mortgage securities, CBMS, buy and sell those securities, making money off that. And it all fell apart. Less than 5% of home loans were the high-risk loans. And less than 3% of the high-risk loans, so a fraction of 1%, actually were in default. And that small number of loans jeopardized the entire global financial system because of Congress interfered in the housing market in an unwarranted way. That's the truth of what happened. You don't believe me? Read Thomas Sowell. He's written about it. I've talked about it since long before he published his book. Thomas Sowell is correct, and I'm correct. All right, nobody answered my question. The top tax rate in America when John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Marilyn Monroe's main squeeze, became president was 89% in America. Kennedy eviscerated the tax rate. He and Congress reset the tax rates and reduced this progressive idiocy. There was no incentive for people to invest in the country. None. You were better buying things like art, houses, property, boats, because you paid a lot less in taxes for sales tax than you paid for income tax, because it was 89%. The incentive to hide your money, to cheat and lie, was so high that most people did it. Like in Europe. Europe is full of tax cheats. The work commission get taxed at 25% real estate and also pay VAT. Still pay royalties. That's crazy. Right. Reaction says raising taxes will work for only a short while, as it will begin to liquidate funds, decimating the ability to pay taxes, causes you to end up paying more for stuff, eventually leading to state collapse. Yep. To me, the biggest tax theft is taxing people's pension payouts. Well, we've talked about that, Conrad. Those people paid income tax their entire lives and contributed pension out of their income. That was taxed, exactly. On a tangent, can you comment on news? Waiting for you today. Scroll through YouTube, saw but didn't watch that Florida released robotic bunnies to kill the problem python invasion. No, I didn't see that. Is that a Newsvine satire story? I didn't see that anywhere. Yeah, see, Dogzilla's full of crap again. Those laws were relaxed under the Clinton administration with a Democratic Congress. Dogzilla, do your homework. Do your homework. Republicans didn't relax those laws. The Democrats did in the 1990s. In the 1990s. It's having an intellectual conversation with people that don't bother to make facts. They just make stuff up. They don't bother to research facts. It's so easy. Yeah, it's so easy. Hey, Alan, what's going on? Yep. Yep, Xavier, commies just don't understand. It's all about immediate gratification, just like the wokies and millennials. Instant wealth, but it's unsustainable, right? You're correct, Holden Caulfield. Oh, there it is. Holden Caulfield, right there. Bill Clinton did the subprime mortgages. That's right. The Community Reinvestment Act was passed under Democratic administration, and the laws on subprime mortgages were relaxed during the Clinton administration with the Democratic Congress. Statement of fact, folks. Statement of fact. Death News UK took 10,000 stately homes to demolition so that all construction, creativity, and architecture was destroyed and not passed to children and other people's investment. Yeah, that's particularly insidious. What the UK government is doing, stealing people's lives and their patronage, and just it's unbelievable. The taxes, so for instance, a lot of nobility in Germany, and there's a lot of nobility in Germany, own castles and palaces. They can't own them because the taxes are crushing. So Borg Eltz survives, one of the few castles still owned by the families. 3 families own this castle. They all had residences inside at one point. But it only survives because all the money, it goes into a trust, if I'm not mistaken, but all the money is used to pay for taxes. They don't make really much of a living off of Borg Eltz. Yep. Borg Eltz is pretty cool, man. Borg Eltz is a beautiful little castle that sits on a hill surrounded in a valley by other hills. And yeah, it was never destroyed because it was not on a strategic or tactical path that was necessary. So the French never torched it. They trashed every other castle they could find on the Rhine and the Rhinegebiet. So yeah, no, danger of raising taxes should be common sense, not rocket science. The benefits of lowering taxes are pretty obvious too, but Democrats just hate people. Of course, they don't pay the taxes. They sit in Congress and they get free barbers and they get free commissary and they get free health care and they get free this and get free that. If they serve 3 terms, they get a robust pension bigger than mine the rest of their lives. They're just used car salesmen, scumbag reprobates. Yeah, idiots like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Jasmine Crockett, Mitch McConnell, Chucky Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. Disgusting. Anyway, that's the reality, folks. Wednesday night. Wow, we wound up talking about taxes here. That was interesting. I didn't expect that. You're right, Xavier. That's the problem with common sense. It's pretty rare. Yep. And they always try to demean the actual economics. Oh, it's trickle-down economics. It's Reaganomics. It's voodoo math, voodoo economics. Remember that? That's what they said about Reagan's plan. But it worked. Reagan's plan worked. Yeah. Did you by any chance see a story about Waldo, a young boy? Yes. The problem with that, Fluffy Navels, I've asked for information. I'm not going to tell that story because the facts aren't clear to me. I've got people telling me this, telling me that. People tell me he was in the yard and got shot and they intentionally tried to murder him. Then it's a home invasion. I don't know if he's in the house. He's outside the house. The media aren't covering it. I've asked for information and talked to somebody that knows something about it, and I haven't got a response. Or if I've got a response, I haven't seen it. So I'm aware of the story, but I'm not doing a story on it until I know more information. I don't risk my reputation by just running off and reporting stuff. If I did, my channel would have been embarrassed and would have been a laughing stock in South Africa because there isn't a day or a week that goes by that I don't get at least 2 of my followers sending me stories freaking out. Oh my God, can you see this? This Tswana family is living in a disused hind. They're not disused, not the hind, the oryx, a disused oryx, an abandoned Sandef oryx. They live in it. And there's a picture of this black family living in an oryx helicopter. It's satire. It says right to the top, Newsvine, satire news site. But people think it's real. They'll believe anything. So I know this story is real. I know the kid was actually shot in the head. I know that's genuine. My point is that I don't risk my reputation by just running off. I already saw this today with some hate wankers over on Skidmark's website demeaning me in a video that had nothing to do with me, lying about me and saying all kinds of bullshit. People are just useless, you know. They're like, oh, these YouTubers, they just comment. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't do the research. Shut the fuck up. You know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about. I am a professional researcher. I'm a genealogist. I'm a historian. I'm a political scientist, and I have credentials for those things. And I'm a published author. And I'm a university lecturer, a professor. And I'm an intelligence analyst with decades of experience. And I've traveled the world, lived in 16 countries, and visited over 80 countries and speak 6 languages. And to hear morons go to a website and say that these are just YouTubers, don't know what they're talking about, screw them. They're dumber than rocks. Idiots. Oh, that woman is off her rocker. She's been off her rocker for a while. All these clowns. They all have penis envy. That's what it is. It's penis envy. They're not accomplished. They've never done anything in life. They're not real soldiers. They're not warriors. They're not university lecturers. They're not. You notice that I never get this from real people like Davi Root has never said anything bad about me. People with degrees have never said anything bad about me. They never question my credentials. There's all these useless has-beens that sit around and talk cock. It's pathetic. They're sad. Sad people. Illegal to disagree with whatever Trump comes up with? Illegal? What are you talking about, man? It was during the Biden regime. It was illegal. I lost my YouTube channel for simply reporting facts, reporting what Dr. Fauci said, and then reporting what he later said, which contradicted what he previously said. Which is it, Fauci? I lost my channel over that video. I didn't make any claims. I didn't violate any community standards, but it was clearly illegal. The Biden administration told YouTube to take my channel down, and they did it, violating the First Amendment of the Constitution. So what are you talking about, Dogzilla? Illegal disagree with Trump. I disagree with Trump. Do you listen? Get the wax out of your ear, man. Get the wax out of your ear. You don't listen. I just criticized the Trump administration last night twice. And again on Monday I did it. Leftists, man. You guys are so funny. You are so funny. So funny. You're right, the forgotten ones. They never worse. Never worse. Or wannabes. Yep. Kipper says, give me what truth and common sense. Yep. USPS does not rely on government subsidies. That's why the Postal Service loses so much money. Since when? When did they stop accepting U.S. government funds? Amtrak does. Designed to be self-supporting. But it does get treasuries, which are subsidized by the government. It buys treasuries. So, but you're right. You're right. But Amtrak still gets money from the federal government. Absolutely. Yeah. COVID scamdemic was a huge push to suppress freedoms. Thankfully, the internet helped break the false narrative and is still helping despite all their efforts to use it. Yeah, they're still trying to control it. We see that in viewership. We see that in shadow banning. Yep, and we see that in people who are taken down. We saw the threats from YouTube as well. My channel took big hits when I did the video simply reporting the news that YouTube admitted that they had censored people who never violated community standards at the behest of the Biden government. They admitted it. And they paid Trump $24 million. He got $22 million. The rest went to some people that were the co-plaintiffs in the lawsuit. I did a video on that, and my viewership plummeted. I left it up for a week, and then I put it private, and my viewership recovered. Not back to where it was, but it's recovered. It's just so obvious. They're so obvious. Del Marie Mostart says, well done on your achievements, Colonel. Remarkable respect. Well, thank you. Thank you. Mueller is under a grand jury indictment. Mueller is senile. Robert Mueller will never stand trial. He's senile. I used to watch Skid Marks and found some what he said interesting, but before I found the Colonel, but it's gotten so radicalized versus Trump. Still like hearing his alternative cancer treatment. I got nothing against Skid Marks. I've been a guest on this program 8 times. I'm talking about the comments on the video. The video, I didn't listen to the whole video. As far as I know, the video didn't target me. It was about Morning Shot. But people gratuitously attacked me in the comments below that. Yeah. People are just stupid. Good morning, Bev in Amsterdam. They say things about you because it's clickbait. They know your followers respond on their page. That's true. Also, they're trying to grow their channels. Remember the black guy who was stealing my content a few months back? And, when I did the one video saying FAFO, he kept, well, look at this guy's doing this. He's just looking for attention. These are never words looking for attention. Exactly. Hey, Lion and Sand is back from Windhoek. How's it going, man, in the windy corner? Yep. Okay, Husky, have a good night. Thanks for being here. And it looks like Xavier's leaving too. The CARES Act of 2020, USPS authorized to borrow $10 billion from the Treasury for operating expenses. Prior to the 1970s, the postal system received taxpayer funding, but now operates as a self-funding model, and it's not working. Yep. So, anyway, people speak smart words to sound smart when the smartest thing they can do is shut up. Gordon from Rendsburg, thanks for your great show. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Oh, Del Marie, I didn't even talk about my achievements. We could sit here and talk about things for hours. I mean, my CV is 14 pages long. So let me give an example of something. I'll just pick one example, one job. Let me see. Ooh, that's going to be where? It's going to be on this drive. It's going to be, there we go. Let me pull up a CV. Okay, here's a CV. All right. So here you go. Alrighty, so education, Master of Strategic Studies, United States Army War College, 2014. Masters of Science, International Relations, summa cum laude, Troy University, 2006. U.S. Army Command General Staff College, 2004. Defense Language Institute, Monterey, California, French with Honors, 2000. Iowa State University, Ames, Iowa, International Development Studies, 1999. BA in History, cum laude, Ohio University, Athens, Ohio, 1989. Honors, Distinguished Service Order in Gold, Republic of Liberia, February 2022. Meritorious Honor Award, U.S. Department of State, April of 2014. President's Daily Brief, Author Recognition, 4 times awarded. Office of the Director of National Intelligence, November 2005, March 2006, October 2006, and February 2007. Director's Annual Agency Team Award, Defense Intelligence Agency, November 16, 2006. State of Hesse President's Community Contribution Award, 1994. Distinguished Military Graduate, ROTC, 1989, Ohio University. I'm not even mentioning my military awards there. Let me go down and pick one of these. Colonel, U.S. Army, Senior Military Advisor, United States Mission to the African Union, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Served as the Ambassador's Principal Military Advisor and represented the U.S. Ambassador to the African Union and abroad, and as U.S. Africa Command Liaison Officer to the African Union. Coordinated all security assistance or security cooperation with the African Union, including counterterrorism fellowship training program, invitational travel, foreign military financing, Africa contingency operations training and assistance program, gender-based programs, and Section 1206 counterterrorism. Reported on all peace and security programs, developments, and peace support operations, including the African Union Mission in Somalia, AMISOM, the African Union Mission to the Central African Republic, Mission Internationale de Soutien à la Centrique Afrique sous conduit africaine, MISCA, and the African Union Support Mission to the Ebola outbreak in West Africa, ASWOA. Liaised with the African Union Military Attaché Community, 46 countries. Worked directly with the African Union Peace and Security Council, the Peace Support Operations Division, and the AMISOM Military Operations Coordination Committee. Developed programs to support gender integration, security sector reform, disarmament, demobilization, reintegration, DDR programs, military exercises, counterterrorism coordination with NATO, and African Union Peace Support Structure, the African Standby Force, ASF, and the African Capacity for Immediate Response to Crisis, ACERC. One job. I did all those things. Yep. Lieutenant Colonel, United States Army Chief, U.S. Office of Security Cooperation, Monrovia, Liberia. Led and managed the Security Cooperation Office at the American Embassy in Monrovia, Liberia, responsible for security assistance to the Republic of Liberia. Also served as the government technical monitor with daily oversight and direction for 2 Department of State contractors, DynCorp and PAE, as the GTM oversaw and directed contracts valued over $251 million and more than 570 expatriate and local national employees for a train and equip program undertaking the creation of a new 2,000 soldier armed forces of Liberia. Planned and executed international military education training program, humanitarian assistance, humanitarian civic assistance, the President's emergency program for AIDS relief, military and military cooperation, combined exercise, excess property programs, led efforts to recruit women into Liberian military, develop gender-specific training programs for the Armed Forces of Liberia. Anyway, so yeah, and these are rather reserved comments. I mean, it doesn't cover half the stuff I did in these jobs. So anyway. Yep, this one's 7 pages. This one I've trimmed it down, so it was 14 pages. Foreign work experience: Ethiopia, Uganda, Mauritania. These are places I lived: Niamey, Niger, Stuttgart, Malawi, Habaroni, Liberia, Tunisia, Tuzla, Vicenza, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Germany. Work-related travel, Austria, Belgium, Botswana, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Cameroon, Canada, Croatia, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Germany, Ghana, Guinea, Iraq, Italy, Ivory Coast, Kuwait, Lesotho, Liberia, Mauritania, Morocco, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, Niger, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, Sierra Leone, South Africa, Swaziland, Tanzania, Togo, Tunisia, Uganda, United Kingdom, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. Published works, Expanding U.S. Military Command in Africa, Elites, Networks, and Grand Strategy, Stellenbosch University, Rutledge Press. A closer look at the new U.S. Africa strategy, U.S. Strategy for Africa, U.S. Army War College War Room. Botswana's Grip and Plan highlights need for defense white paper, Defense Web, Building Partner Capacity in Africa, Keys to Success, Strategic Studies Institute. Guest speaking engagements. Big Leap Over Fossil Fuels, Renewables in the Developing World. Aspen, Colorado, American Renewable Energy Conference. Current State of U.S.-Africa Trade. Guest speaker, Trade with Africa Summit, Chicago, Illinois. Repatriating ISIS fighters and family members. Guest speaker, London, United Kingdom. China and Africa. Guest speaker, Canada-Africa Network Conference. The new African Armed Forces Library Reflections and Expectations. Guest speaker, Librarian Studies Association, Concordia University, Chicago. U.S. Military Engagement in Africa and U.S. Policy in Africa. Visiting Professor, Armed Forces of Mauritania Staff College. China and Africa, guest speaker, Energy and African Conference, Denver, Colorado. G5 Sahel Defense Conference, visiting professor, U.S. Foreign Policy in Africa, U.S. Military Policy in Africa, U.S. Africa Command, Nouakchott, Mauritania. South Africa's Fragile Democracy, guest speaker for the Great Decisions Speaker Series at the Army War College. U.S. Army Africa, African Alumni Symposium, panel member, Building Partner Capacity, facilitator, Next Generation of African Leaders, Violent Extremist Organizations in Africa, Building Partner Capacity, Carlisle Barracks. Joint Special Operations University, Adjunct Professor, Interministerial Executive Collaboration Course, Monrovia, Liberia. 101st Airborne Division, guest speaker, Regional Line Force, Africa Familiarization Training. 101st Airborne, guest speaker, Regional Line Force. African Alliance, Senior Leader Seminar, presenter and panel member, International Security Cooperation in the Sahel Maghreb, Agadir, Morocco. U.S. Naval War College Regional Alumni Symposium, panel member, Capacity Building in Africa, Newport, Rhode Island. Shall I continue? Anyway, see, like I said, that stuff is just rather modest what I talk about. So there you got a little bit more of taste. Brains and beauty, that's not fair, Colonel. Wow. Cum and summa cum laude. Yeah, it makes sense why I listen to you every word. Thank you very much. Angelique, you're very welcome. There's this one Morne Bota on YouTube. He's a colonel in the U.S. Air Force. No, he's a major in the U.S. Air Force. He's not a colonel. Yeah. Lieutenant Colonel, South African Defense Force. I don't know that he's a lieutenant colonel, but I know he's a major in the U.S. Air Force. Yep. Yeah, Angie Mochek is president. It's pretty scary in South Africa. And Delmarie says, that's remarkable, 100%. Then you're still busy and doing all that you do now. Yeah, and you guys have no idea. I've been using my days coordinating emergency lodging for people who were supposed to fly out, but because of the lockdown are trapped in Joburg and in Cape Town and in Pretoria. So I've been coordinating with generous people, providing lodging for them. I've been doing that, coordinating for speakers. Yeah. Anyway, so it's just a lot. And here it is, 12:43 in the morning. Oh, my mistake, but it's cool that you know of him. No, it's not a problem, reactions. I know who he is. Yeah, interesting fellow. Had my teams with RCS yesterday, and whoever said Kenyans are rude or prejudiced was the nicest, calmest gentleman. Yeah, no, they are Hasiki. These are hate wankers who are just trying to. They're either arrogant, demanding, entitled people, or they're just liars trying to discourage other people. So I have not had a single person tell me honestly that they've had a bad experience with the Kenyans. I've had people who misunderstood things the Kenyans said and did, or are frustrated because the Kenyans didn't follow up, but they don't understand that the Kenyans have restrictions on what they're doing, and oftentimes when they say they're following up, it's not them, it's USCIS or USRAP, and those people have a plate full and they don't get back in a timely fashion. So but I've yet to see a legitimate case. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. We all have bad days and people aren't always polite to us. But I've yet to see a legitimate case of somebody contacting me and give me a legitimate explanation of what happened and they were treated poorly by the Kenyans or by the Amerikaners. Do you think CR and knees get sore from Manny says, for everything, be peaceful. Well, thanks. Have a good day. People are leaving now. Mad Max says, would you have done it different when you look at all you've done? Absolutely. I should have become a gigolo. No. Mistakes, sure. Made a few minor mistakes along the way. Not always the best decisions, but mostly the right decisions. And the one thing I might have done is I might have been more assertive. There were times that not wishing to upset the apple cart. And sometimes it doesn't work. Not upsetting the apple cart puts you in just as precarious position as upsetting the apple cart. But no, I generally wouldn't change things. So my approach to life was, from the very beginning, is that I recognized that life would go by fast. I don't know why, but I realized that at a very young age. And so when I went to university, I was always looking to the future and looking long term. I always had a plan for what was coming next and what was coming down the pike. The only time I didn't have a plan was when I retired. I kind of had a plan, but then COVID scuppered it all, and I had to rebalance the table and reassess and develop a new plan. But at a young age, honestly, I'm not making this up. I realized that, life is short. You can get hit by a bus tomorrow, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't put aside seed corn and save it for the future. So I started saving early on, and then later taught myself to invest, because rich people don't tell you how to make money. They don't want to tell you how to make money, usually. And I didn't know any rich people anyway. So I had to learn that all on my own, and Peter Lynch was a big inspiration for that, reading his books back in the 1990s, 80s and 90s. And I realized that at a young age that we are young and we are fit and we're able to do things. And I was thin, healthy, and could run for miles and could climb mountains, and without running out of breath, didn't have onset asthma and a hip problem, stuff like that. So I realized at a young age that you've got to do the things you want to do when you can do it and you're physically capable. So I always put money aside for the future, paid my bills, and then looked at what I had. If I had something left over, I used that to plan for trips, and I'd save for trips. And I was very frugal. I would rent cars that were dirt cheap because the dollar was very high when they were priced in marks, so we got it cheap when we go rent cars as soldiers. And I would take a cooler, put ice in it from the burger bar, or then later on Burger King when they had them, or whatever, or the shop had whatever. Put ice in there. Would buy Capri Suns and put drinks in there, and buy lunch meat in the Metzgerei because the dollar was strong, and buy Brötchen. Or I would eat a bunch of them at the hotels I stayed at, because the German hotels come with breakfast. I would stay in inexpensive ones, and and I would be circumspect about what I spent my money on. And then I would use the coupons for gas, and I would plan my trips so that I could be as close to Germany as possible with a full tank going into another country like Italy or Switzerland or the Czech Republic or the Netherlands. With the Netherlands, you could still use the coupons there. And Italy had different coupons. So the point is that I would try to take advantage of that. And I saw everything, went everywhere. And I made the most of it. And I've never denied myself the opportunity to travel the world as long as it was reasonable and not excessive. And so I've seen most of the world that I want to see. I've been most of the places I want to go. I've done most of the things I want to do when I could do it. Now that I'm older and at the moment not particularly able to get around as well as I should be able until I get this hip sorted out, I have no regrets because I did it, I went to the Rugby World Cup in San Francisco, and I walked all over San Francisco. My hip wasn't a problem then. I have no regrets for doing it. It was really smart to do it. I walked all over San Francisco. I didn't have a car. I flew out there. I used my miles to get out there. And then I took the train up to San Francisco. I used my points to get a Hampton Inn. Then I stayed in another Hilton property there. And I walked all over town. I couldn't do that today. I can only walk 1 or 2 blocks and I have to stop. Yeah, but I could do it back then. So no regrets. I wish I'd written more. I wish I'd written more. I only have, as far as I know, 44 children in Africa. Maybe I should have produced a few here in Canada or the U.S. That's I kind of regret that. Maybe if I had another 15 or 20 children, that would have been pretty cool. So just looking to see if anybody's still listening to what I'm saying. Yeah, anyway. Okay, Bloodkop's listening. That's why we go to you, Colonel. Honest, unbiased news. At least we know where you stand, and you produce objective news. Yeah, no, I tell you where I stand, but I still report on things that don't agree with my viewpoint. I intentionally look for those stories too. Yep, like you said yesterday when I asked what would you do with 200,000, you would have invested. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I made a mistake, but it wasn't really a mistake. It was a sound decision at the time based on the facts. I wish I'd bought the land, but I mean, I would have been paying taxes and association fees on it for 30 years and not living there. But I'd have a lot out there. It was an audience check. I do that sometimes. You're a hard ass, focused, and walk faster than me. That's true, Mad Max. Even with the hip pad, I'm walking faster than most people. But it's not me. I need to walk faster. Yep. Well, Mad Max, always learn from mistakes. But I mean, fortunately, I've had no serious mistakes, no huge ones. I mean, look, guys, I've invested money and lost money. Mostly because I focused on my job in the Army and my commitment to the nation rather than paying attention to my portfolio. So I lost money on a company called Fog Dog based in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. It was a sports company that sold sports stuff online, and I got soaked on that one. I lost money on one or two other investments, but almost every investment I ever made, I've made money. The one I've lost money on, I didn't spend much on. That's Lucara Diamond Company, the Canadian company that's got mines, the Caraway mine in Botswana with those huge diamonds coming out. But for some reason, it's a penny stock. But it was a small amount of money. So another 15 children, correct? Okay. Finger nouns are listening. A lot of people save for tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. Jeremy, did you listen to what I said? Is this what I said? You put some seed corn aside. The younger you start, the less you need to put aside to grow a big pile. And then I paid my bills, and then there was money. I enjoyed life. So if something had happened, I would not have missed out on the things before I passed. Yes. Oh, okay. You're saying, yeah, but it's foolish not to save for tomorrow. It is foolish. And that's what most Africans do. Don't save for tomorrow. Kids in South Africa. I won't answer that question. Your passion for people always amazes me. You're one of a kind. Well, thank you very much for that, Mad Max. I appreciate that. No, people matter. All people matter. Even the scumbags. They matter because we need somebody to fill the prisons. Renee always says to me, there are some children that that missed out on having a great father. Well, thank you. Thank you, George. Or are you talking about you? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So, it's, the only thing about life that I wish is that we live longer. I'd like to live for 350 years and be physically fit like I was from my teens to my 40s. I'd like to have that for a century and a half. That would be cool, but you can't control that. Many Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Well, that's because people make bad decisions in life, Holden. They make bad decisions in life. They don't focus in school. They don't learn. They don't apply themselves. They don't plan. They don't put a little bit of money aside. And I hear this all the time. Oh, I've got 5 kids. I can't save money. Well, you should have dipped your wick that many times. That was your choice. No one sat there with a gun to the back of your head forcing you to thrust in there. You made that choice. You live with that consequence. Oh, but I have kids. I can't save money. That's nonsense. I hear that from people that give their 12-year-olds $1,400 iPhones. Oh, but it's only $40 a month. Well, only $40 a month? Yeah. 12-year-olds with $1,400 iPhones? Spare me. People make choices. People make decisions. I live frugally to save for the future. Kathy, you're leaving. Bye-bye. Life happens. I had to now put important stuff lower on the list of importance. Studies, money is the most difficult in life to manage because you'll never have enough. Summary, those are pretty fair statements. Life is fleeting. It goes by far too fast. And that's the thing that sucks about it. Yeah. So, with all the celebrities and famous people that have been passing away over the past 2 years, it makes you think, especially when you turn 59 again, it makes you think about life, whether you want to or not. Yeah. It would be so cool to be so wealthy that money isn't an object and I wouldn't think about it and I could just go and do what I want. See, that's the thing about money. People want money because they want things. I don't want things. It's nice to have things. I mean, I'd love to have a freaking, $80,000 pickup truck, a Bucky. Nice to have them, but money is about freedom. True freedom comes from money. Elon Musk can go anywhere he wants at any time and do anything. Hop on a plane, have someone fly him there, get any food he wants. I mean, if he wants to eat steamed crabs in in Italy, which doesn't have steam crabs, you can have them flown in. Won't even care. That's true independence. That's true freedom. And that's why a lot of those people are arrogant, because there are no consequences. So that's true freedom. That's what money's all about. That's the real reason. It's not about keeping up with the Joneses or the Smiths next door. True freedom is about the ability to do what you want, when you want, responsibly. That's true freedom. That's right. Money gives you opportunity. How you use it is up to you. $50 Samsung track phone 5 years ago. Well, see, that's frugal and smart. Blodkop, that's frugal and smart. People ask me why I spent $300 replacing the screen on this phone when I unfortunately broke a screen. First time in my life I broke a screen. 35 years, never broke a screen of a cell phone. And they said, why don't you just get a new phone? Well, the new phone I want is $1,400. This phone works. It's the best phone I've ever had in my life. And it's 4.5 years old. And it has a brand new battery. So yeah, because the battery comes with the screen. They replaced the battery and the screen. So that's a smart decision. A fun decision would have been to get the new S25 or wait for the S26 to come out. But why bother? That's the one I've got. Usually in South Africa, you could lose all and put away or work for because of the color you were born. Jeremy, that's a different situation. We were talking about my circumstances, but you're correct. Property is a long-term investment, like buying gold, not shares. Unfortunately, I need every cent. But the difference is that gold, you don't pay taxes on unless you live in a state that has an intangibles tax, like Florida, which taxes your assets. But if you don't have an intangibles tax, you don't pay taxes on gold. Once you have it. It accrues value. Property pays taxes. The $9,000 a year I'm paying in house insurance and taxes is proof of that. That's insane. I'm paying more in taxes than I pay in interest on my loan. And trust me, I pay a lot of money in interest. People will say how you cannot judge on having kids without having any. I can because I made a decision considering all those things. No, Simmery, I don't say that. I don't say that. Anybody can make that judgment. We were all kids. None of us were hatched like this. We grew up. Don't want to have lots of money, just want not to worry about something happens. Yep. My dog's going 6, my car's. Yeah, well, that's why you have to save for a rainy day. You have a rainy day fund or rainy day assets you can get to. Yep. So Elon Musk must have enough responsibilities. He has very limited freedom, unless his personal assistant plans a few minutes here and there. Well, that might be true, Keith, because he's busy knocking up women all over the planet, so he's got a lot of responsibility. Berkshire Stack was once under 15. That's true. That's true. But unfortunately, Warren Buffett is an arrogant asshat. Smart guy, made a fortune, but arrogant asshat. The best phone was an analog Nokia. Yeah, those were really good phones back in the day. Reactions spawned from hell. All right. So, wow. How do you measure wealth? Monetary or family? I don't regret raising kids as I now have grandchildren and love is worth more than money. Well, Rudolph, there you go. Are you content? Are you happy? That's what matters. If you are living or have lived a good life, that's what matters. Yeah. For me, it was always about leaving the world a better place than I found it. And I cannot make that argument that regardless of what I've done, good or bad, I have left the world a better place than I found it. I've made an impact in lives. And I see it every day when people send me messages about this program, and about the information I provide and the effort I go to help people. And that's not the goal. That's not why I'm trying to do this. But I've done it throughout my life, so anyway. All right. What song do you guys want to hear? And don't say, the rock song. I don't want the rock song. You want to hear a song before we wrap up? No, property and state tax exemptions do not kick in here in Pennsylvania. There's no that's only for low income people. Steve Ray Vaughan. Johan Ferguson. Dude, why do you have a Scottish name and an Afrikaans given name? That's so confusing. The grass is greener. Okay, there you go. There's a sign. Well, I played sign at the beginning, Charles. The grass is green is probably better. Property and state taxes in Pennsylvania, unless I'm incorrect, I'm pretty sure I'm correct. That's only for the low income people. So, taught my son from a young age to put away some cash. He has more saved than most adults. Yep, buys what he wants in cash. Yep. No, not the rock song. We played it yesterday. I did the rock song. All right, the grass is greener. You're an Afrikaans Scot. Yeah, exactly. I can see that, man. I can see that. Okay, so now I gotta get Suno. Let's do the grass is greener. That one's pretty cool. All right, come on. Come on. A little faster here. All right, so I did activate the TPM in my BIOS for this. Sign of the times. That's one we did already. Grass is greener. Here's the grass is greener, folks.
They come to our shores with a suitcase dream, chasing the glow of that golden beam from far off lands where shadows lie. Here they find a brighter sky. Every step, every mile, they're reaching for the American side. The grass is greener in America, where freedom sings, where hearts run wild. The grass is greener in America, a shining city, a dream compiled, the place the world keeps reaching for. Factories hum with a steady grace, ideas born in this boundless space. A light bulb flash, a towering steel in every corner. The promise feels real. From the ground to the stars, we're built on dreams, we're raising bars. The grass is greener in America, where freedom sings, where hearts run wild. The grass is greener in America, a shining city, a dream compiled, the place the world keeps reaching for.
Yes, Get It Together is the rock song they're talking about. That one actually came out pretty well. Mad Max says, at our age, we have a saying that the woodcutter is in the forest. We see the trees we know start falling.
The grass is greener in America, where freedom sings, where hearts run wild. The grass is greener in America, a shining city, a dream compiled, the place the world keeps reaching for. The grass is greener in America, where freedom sings, where hearts run wild. The grass is greener in America, a shining city, a dream compiled, the place the world keeps reaching for.
Yes, Rudolph, the budget was looked at again, and the Senate voted it down tonight. There's a request for Charlie Stands On. I haven't played it in a while, so let me play that. And then I want to wrap up with English Pride. That's inspirational. That was an anthem for the people of England suffering under their fascist government. But this is Charlie Stands On. This is an anthem for Charlie Kirk.
Voice like thunder broke the sky. He spoke for truth. He dared to try.
With courage burning bright as flame, Charlie Kirk was more than just a name.
They thought they'd silence what he gave, but free speech doesn't find a grave. Charlie stands on in the hearts of the brave, in the fight for freedom. a fire inside, for family, for values, he never lied.
The world grows quiet, but echoes stay in every soul. He led the way.
Gone from sight but never far, he's the whisper in the stars, a warrior fallen yet standing tall, in every voice that answers the call. Charlie stands on in the hearts of the brave, in the fight for freedom, the road he paved. Though the coward struck, his light won't fade. Charlie stands on in the love he made. Charlie stands on. Charlie stands on. Charlie stands on. Charlie stands on in the love he made.
Charlie Stands On. I'm really happy how that song came out. I haven't played a lot because of the gratuitous latching on to the assassination of Charlie Kirk for fame and glory by a lot of people. I've just been kind of sedate about that, but that is a beautiful song. This is one I wrote for the English people suffering under the tyranny of Keir Starmer, the Liberals, and the feckless Tories. English pride.
There's a flag that waves in the morning sun, cross of red on a field of white. It's the heart of a land where I was born, and I'll stand for it with all my might. They call us names, they twist the truth, but love for home is no excuse. English pride, it's in our veins, through the fields and the falling rain. We hold the line, we won't divide. This is our home. It's English pride. Cliffs of Dover to the northern fells, this soil has stories to tell, of working hands and stubborn wills, a land of dreams and rolling hills. They sell us out, they break the chain, but we'll rise up and stake our claim. English pride, it's in our veins, through the fields and the falling rain. We hold the line, we won't divide. This is our home. It's English pride. It's not about hate, it's about what's ours. The village greens and ancient towers. It's the songs we sing, the words we say, the lives we've built, the price we've paid. English pride.
Folks, I get the Afrikaner English divide and the uralte hate there. But the English are under siege too. And we rally around folk when they're under siege. So, I don't want to end on that. I want to do one more. One more, guys. One more before we go. I know we're down to about 100 people here, but let's do one more. One more. And you guys know what's coming, don't you? It's not Pala Pala Nights. No, it's not that one. It's something different. Come on. Where's it? Number 4? Is it 4? It's not Stay Off My Lawn. Where the heck is it at? There it is. You guys ready for this one? You ready for this one? It's not rock, guys. This is one of my favorites.
The water's rising slow and hot. The frog's still dreaming in the pot. Steam whispers secrets to the air. Do you jump or do you dare? Tick tock, the heat won't stop. The lid shakes like it's gonna pop. The pot boils over again. Pressure rising, no way to pretend you can stay or leap. Take your shot. The pot boils over, like it or not. Cyril's cards fell just as planned. He dealt the aces, played his hand, but the crowd's awake, their voices loud. A restless wave, a roaring crowd. Tick tock, the time runs thin. Boiling point, it's sink or swim. The pot boils over again. Pressure rising, no way to pretend you can stay or leave. Take your shot. The pot boils over, like it or not. Pot boils over. Pot boils over, like it or not. Pot boils over again. Pressure rising, no way to pretend you can stay or leap. Take your shot. The pot boils over, like it or not. Pot boils over. 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 Pot boils over, like it or not.
Pot boils over, indeed. I can't go yet, guys. One more. That is not the right one. That is not the right song. How did that happen? That is not the right one. That is not the right one.
Yeah, go on by, say whatever. Hop to the left, Bunny's on the scene. First so clean, move sharp, he's mean. Eyes like fire, trolls start to quake. Mess with the bunny,
Big mistake.
Trigger off, bunny protector of peace. Jumping through the chaos, never on a leash. Trolls come lurking, but they can't pretend. The bunny's here and it's the bitter end. Bugger off, bunny protector of peace. Jumping through the chaos, never on a leash. Trolls come lurking, but they can't pretend. The bunny's here and it's the bitter end. Connell's right hand and ear standing tall. One thumb from the foot sends him through the wall. Carrots in the pocket, wisdom in his paw. Trolls see the bunny, drop their jaw. Bounce, 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 the rhythm don't stop. Trolls try to climb but the bunny's on top. Guarded the antennas, catching every sound. The bugger off bunny, king of the ground.
The bugger off bunny. Well, now, folks, it's time for Natalie to dim the lights.
Yeah, dim the lights, Natalie, it's time to vibe it. Pulling moves so slick, I'm coming live. South Africa's groove, let the rhythm flow. Where the city lights shine and the trumpets blow. Oh, Mr. President, do you know the way? Where the streets are loud and the people play. Ramaphosa's trip, oh, the mission fell flat. But the spirit's still strong now, imagine that. Dim the lights and let's paint the night. The world's watching close to a global sight. From the hills of Pretoria to the Cape Shore, feel the beat of the nation they can't ignore. Oi. Oh, Mr. President, do you know the way? Where the streets are loud and the people play. Ramaphosa's trip, oh, the mission fell flat. But the spirit's still strong now, imagine that. It's a journey of hope and a story untold, where dreams are made and the hearts are bold. America may listen, but the mission's unclear. Still the rhythm of the land keeps the vibe sincere. Oh, Mr. President, do you know the way? Where the streets are loud and the people play. Ramaphosa's trip, oh, the mission fell flat. But the spirit's still strong now, imagine that.
Ramaphosa. Bin day, huh?
A land of gold sunsets and skies so blue. Mountains whisper stories of dreams so true. From oceans roaring wild to valleys deep, a heartbeat of a nation that will not sleep. Save South Africa, rise above the storm. Hands together strong, a new world is born. Beauty in our hearts, let it light the way. Evil cannot reign when we seize the day. The people sing louder than shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The soil holds our history, roots run so long. A melody of freedom, we're singing strong. They may curse the land with lies they then shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The people sing louder than shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The people sing louder than shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The soil holds our history, roots run so long. A melody of freedom, we're singing strong. They may curse the land with lies, they weave their weave, but we hold the truth in what we believe. Their crowns may crumble, their thrones may fall, for the power is the people's, above it all. We know.
Still one of my favorites. I wrote that one, did that one in South Africa when I was there. And we're going to do one final one, guys. One final one, and then it's time to hit the rack. How do you keep going like you do? You once said we're a lot of sick people in the chat, but I believe emotional stress hits our bodies. Oh, a lot of sick. There are a lot of people with health problems in the chat. I think that's what you meant to say, and that's true. A lot of people have ailments. I just have a big heart. All right, so this is the last one. It's a short one. This was inspired by the first meet and greet in Strand.
Colonel Wyatt's got a plan so sweet. A meet and greet down Strand's wide street. South African sun kissed the air so bright. We shared our stories through the night. Dozens gathered hearts in sync. With every smile the spirits linked. A room of faces worlds apart, bound by camaraderie, heart to heart. Cheers in the air, laughter grows. Friendship's tide, it ebbs and flows. Strand lit up like golden beams. A night that turned into sweet dreams. The evening hung with fire and glee. Connections blooming wild and free. Words were sparks igniting light underneath the southern sky tonight. Oh, the beauty, unforgettable glow of strangers and friends we didn't know. Tying threads that'll last and weave. Moments shared with hearts on sleeve. Tears in the air, laughter grows. Friendship's tide, it ebbs and flows. Strand lit up like golden beams. A night that turns into sweet dreams. One of my favorites. I don't play it very often. Meet and greet vibes. All right, guys. That's really going to do it for tonight. Katie says, you give people hope every day. Thank you. It's my pleasure. I know you meant health problems, Husky, but it was funny how it came across. There are some sick people out there, that's for sure. What's with my hair? I don't look quite as sexy as I did when I started the program. Yes, a lot of people are unwell. I'm so grateful. I'm so healthy, not as strong as I once was. I'm tearing up because of how much the Colonel does. Well, Karen, I was kind of tearing up there at the end because that was such an amazing, humbling, wild night. I couldn't imagine. I mean, I've done so many meet and greets before that and never had I seen a crowd like that. Of course, that was eclipsed by other meet and greets that came later. But short notice, we kept the secret. People didn't even know I was in country. And I said, we're doing a meet and greet at Strand, and we had 150 people show up. The restaurant loved us. People spent a lot of money there that night, and it's usually not a busy night. I think it was a Tuesday night, or maybe it was Monday night. I don't recall. Maybe it was Monday night. And they were just thrilled to death. They loved us. They loved me. They can't wait for me to come back. But, yeah, it was it kind of chokes me up. Yeah, the meet and greets were so amazing. I spent
usually 5 to 6 hours talking at those events. It was insane. I'm surprised I still have a voice. The one exception was, of course, Opie Plus, because I had to skip after 2 hours and go interview Thea van Staden. So, Karen said, it was nice to meet you in Durban. Yeah, Karen, the Durban meet and greet was nice too. We had we have 18 or 20 people there. I forget the number. I wrote it down somewhere. That was nice too. Wasn't that the one where Panul was like in the next restaurant or something like that? He didn't have time to meet with me, but he was at a restaurant that night. Anyway, Matthew Dixon's trying to give me a hint here. All right, Matthew is addicted to the program. He can't go to bed till I go to bed. So, of course, it's daytime for him. So who knows what hours he sleeps at. Chris Wyatt is like Energizer Bunny. Who remembers that advert? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the Muppet, wasn't expecting. I didn't either. And you know, Matthew, who was I talking to the other day? I interviewed Chris Ehlers. Chris and I were talking, and I think we both agreed that it was actually more than 300 people. You know, because people came and went. And I went around and tried to share. I was keeping count of how many hands I shook for people who came for the event, and always asked them. And I was around 300, over 300, and there was more than that. That was pretty amazing. I didn't expect that many people at Open Plus too. Yeah, it was amazing. And then the news crews showed up and all that stuff. So it was pretty interesting, wasn't it, Matthew? I hope that people enjoyed it. Yeah, it was. I met some truly incredible people. I always meet incredible people when I go to South Africa. It's full of amazing people. One of my favorite meet and greets is the one that Chris Marie put together in Pretoria on the first trip in 2022 after I'd been to Boerkola. Danny Barnard that night. We went to that restaurant, and Dumo Denga was there, Zuzu was there, and Koketso Radsani was there, Chris Marie was there. I think Arctic was there too. So many people were at that event. That was so cool. Yanni van der Meyer, Yanni Meyer came there too. It was just incredible. When will KickNet air? That's probably going to be in January, February. Meantime, we got the CNN event that's going to come out in November, so I'm waiting for that one. So I hope I don't come out looking bad. I hope they even include me in it, because I didn't answer the questions the way they wanted. They were expecting me to attack Trump and attack America, and I wasn't going to do that. So I was just going to tell the truth. All right, that's it, guys. Have a good night. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. I'm going to go get some rest. And I'm sure that my Vegas Golden Knights lost. Yeah, but oh well. It's a long season. 82 games. Tonight was the first one. It looks like they probably lost. Cheers, everybody. Night. Thank you very much. Hit the like button before you go.